Life Audio.
But if you go back down to yourself, what it is it that you want, you started it, how do you want to pursue it going forward? It'll feel more authentic and sustainable.
If you feel called to make a lasting impact on lives of people all over the U.S., including those right here in your own community, then our friends at Kingdom Workers have an opportunity for you. Builders for Christ is an intersection of faith, community, and construction dedicated to bringing Christ's love, comfort, and support to those affected or displaced by hurricane, fires, and other natural disasters. Program volunteers give their time and skills to build and repair homes for local families and to religious structures like schools and churches that give entire communities resources at a time when they are desperately needed. If you're called to help make an immeasurable impact through fellowship, service, and faith, then you can support the Kingdom Workers directly through a donation or learn more about becoming a Builders for Christ volunteer at kingdomworkers.com/our work. That's OUR work.
Hello and welcome to the Encourager Podcast, where we have encouraging conversations to help you joyfully harmonize your home and work life. I'm your host, Rebecca Scott. I'm a wife, mother, designer, coach, and author. I'm here to help encourage and empower you to confidently make decisions that work for you and your stage of life, whatever that might be.
Hello, encouragers. On today's podcast, we're going to tackle a subject that some of us are really good at, and some of us somewhere in the middle. And also some of us go really like gung-ho for it for a while, and then we taper off. We're going to talk about marketing today. So I knew we needed to get some sort of expert in to tell us like how we can do it. Not that there's necessarily a right way or wrong way, but there probably is more right than wrong ways to do it. And sometimes we just need somebody gentle to remind us what those are and give us the direction so that it doesn't burn us out and we go through those waves anymore. So welcome my guest, Lauren. She is a wife, a mother of two, president and founder of Kwedar Co, also a friend and also a fellow podcaster. Welcome, Lauren.
Well, thank you, Rebecca. I'm so glad to be here. It was hard not to giggle a little bit during the intro because I listen, I get it. I'm here for you. I will be that gentle voice.
She will hold our hands, you guys. So we're going to talk about marketing today. And Lauren also has a lot of experience with PR as well. So tell me just the difference between PR and marketing right away, but most of our conversation is going to go around marketing. But tell us a little bit about what is the difference between PR and marketing?
Yes. So I love this topic. I won't stand on my soapbox for too long, but one way to think about PR and marketing. So marketing is a function of sales. That is booties and seats. That's selling widgets or services or whatever. It's, you are driving revenue and the bottom line with your marketing to fill your pipeline and sell whatever it is you're selling. PR can service that as well, but it's really more of a function of leadership. It's casting a vision. A lot of things that we do in PR, like executive announcements or crisis communications, those aren't necessarily driving sales. No. They're a rising tide that lifts the boat. Marketing is often PR, but PR is not always marketing.
Okay, does everybody need PR if you're a small business?
Well, you're doing it. You might not be doing it on purpose. It's your reputation, how you create that reputation, how you manage that reputation. Mm-hmm. There is, a lot of times when people think about PR, they're thinking about that subset of working with the media, and that is certainly a wonderful aspect of it. Is particularly if you have some savviness around it, and you certainly can do it yourself. People do still read your local paper and all that. Podcasting can be an avenue for, there's so many different channels. And when folks do embrace PR and go for it, we do see, it's like marketing and advertising is you saying, I'm really good at this. PR is a third party saying, hey, they're really good at that. You should check it out.
Okay, good. Thank you for the definition or just the distinction between, because I think you're right. We do work on our PR, but it's not necessarily a main function. And when you are a small business, all you really spend the majority of your time is trying to make sure you've got a pipeline of sales. Yep. So the majority of there, and then you're like, I hope they think I'm really awesome too.
Yes. Well, and I hear people all the time like, oh, well, I've grown my business and I never did an ounce of marketing. And I'm like, well, first of all, baloney. You're doing it. You're just not maybe being strategic about it or purposeful, or you're not, being intentional around it. You're doing it. It's happening. You just probably, imagine what you could accomplish if you put some thought around it.
Interesting. Yeah. I always say like you have to have it. It's just, I think for a lot of us too, with the sheer amount of different ways we can market, it's where it gets so overwhelming. So I hope you can help us, give us some like beginning steps. So that is the first question is, where do we start with marketing? What do you advise with today's platforms and avenues? Where do you think we should start with our marketing?
Yes. So first of all, let's hold space for the fact that it is deeply overwhelming. I myself get overwhelmed. I'm just flashing back to season 1 of COVID when, TikTok is taking over and we're all at home dealing with young children. And I was running a business and I'm trying to take care of adults and children and all these things. And everyone's watching how to make bread on TikTok. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't even download the app and figure out how to do that. Like my brain was just totally full. And so I think the first thing you need to do after giving yourself some grace, thinking about, oh my gosh, I have to be everywhere and do everything. Please don't think that way. What you first need to do is take a step back and think about, who am I serving? Who is that person? Who's that ideal client? And where are they? And if you don't know the answer, ask them. Don't make it up. Don't make assumptions. Think about your most favorite person, whether you're selling a product like you, Rebecca, and services, or if you're selling services like me. We all have that favorite client or customer. Ask them, where do you get your information? Where do you hang out? Do you hang out at a donut shop? Are you reading your physical newspaper? Are you a TikTok person? Really understand them. And then also, what is the problem you're truly solving for them? What are they experiencing? There's 3 levels of problems that we all go through. We have the physical problem, the thing that's standing in our way that I don't know how to do. Marketing, so they come to someone like me to help them with that. But it's also how that makes them feel. I feel ashamed that I don't know how to do my own marketing. I feel frustrated. I feel like I'm a smart person. I should know how to do this. I feel overwhelmed because there's so much I have to do. So you want to tap into that. And then there's the philosophical, like it shouldn't have to be this way. There's more to life than you just grinding it out. Can you outsource it and live your life how you should? That's just an example. And if you're hearing this and you think that sounds a lot like Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller, you are correct. Because I am a story brand certified guide. So once you really understand what that ideal client is going through, and then how you come alongside them to solve their problems, marketing starts to get a whole lot easier because A, you know where they are. B, you know what they're going through, so you can communicate directly to that pain without pressing on those bruises too deeply. But just say, I get it. I'm here with you. And here's how I'm going to solve that problem for you. And here is how it is easy to do business with me. And then you just dive in, whether it's 1 channel, 2 or 3, but even still, if you're like, I don't even know, email is just website and email. If you have those nailed down, like you get those great, crisp, clear, and then you can build on top of that. But at least start with those if you don't know where to start.
I think that's a wonderful point too, because, and side note, you guys, Story Brand, I also have him. I went through his course. I love that you're a certified coach. It is a very good, you can consume his books. You can consume some of his courses. We have done both. And we've also hired certified coaches. So if you are after this, you're like, oh man, maybe I do need Lauren. Guys, we will put all of her stuff in the show notes. That being said, a good place to start, especially if you're very intimidated by being on camera, maybe not so much using your camera, like you can record a video of your service or you can record a video of your product. That right there, you guys, that's a feat right there. And I'm super proud of those of you that I can do this. But even if that is I don't want to do the whole video thing or figure that all out, email, sit down. We know you can write. You started your business, so we know you can write. Write an email to your audience telling them how you want to serve them or whatever that might be. That is a perfect starting point right there. Email and website for sure. I mean, you've got to have a website for people to check out. I do know you can do Etsy. So whatever your version of a website is, depending on what your service is, we get that. But those 2 first things is miles above a lot of people starting their small business. Then the second one is determining where you fit best. And so meaning, okay, let's say you got that website, you've got your email and you're like, okay, I am okay with going on camera. Do you think that there's a difference between like, should we do Instagram? Is Facebook dead? Should we do both? Because you can actually post to both at once. Like, do you have an opinion with some of the clients that you work with who are like moving to Instagram? Because this is actually a question for myself.
You can post to both, so just do it. I mean, people do see things on there. It's and it also depends. It depends a little on your audience. There's you can see the demographics, but if you're posting on both, you can see how your followers are differing. You can see what the content engages. It's a nice little A/B test, honestly, and it's not costing you anything extra. Just press the button and go. We use social media schedulers for ourselves and for our clients. We've got like 10 people in our. We use Loomly, but there's many ways to skin that cat. But yeah, I mean, we're just clicking all the buttons where all the channels are and just letting it rip. I mean, we make some small variations depending on the platform, but make it easier for yourself. Don't twist yourself in the maypole around Instagram versus Facebook. It's all the metaverse. Just I'd say let it rip.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you a question. I know what it is because I've been doing it for quite some time. Tell us what an A/B test means.
Okay. So, thank you. Catch me on my jargon, please. So an A/B test is when you are testing something at the same time. So you can do it with email. You can test, okay, does this subject line perform better than this subject line? Does this picture perform better? You can do it on websites. You can do it on social. Email is really a lot of the platforms make it pretty easy to do it there. And like for instance on MailChimp, you can say you want to A/B test a headline, for instance, and it will send to a small sample of your list. So 1% or 10% or whatever it is. And then whichever one performs better in a period of time, the balance of your list will then get the one that performed better. So, I don't necessarily do it a lot just because, I feel like I got the headline right the first time,
Sure.
but you can, and for people who really love data, like if you're a small marketing shop and your clients love data, I mean, that's one way, and if you are feeling a little insecure, if you're not quite sure, as you're playing around with your messaging, you're not quite sure what's going to land best, you don't really necessarily feel confident calling a client or customer, doing a test like that can show you the proof in the pudding for you.
Okay. So also, and we've kind of been talking about alongside here, the reason why it is so important to start some form of marketing is not even necessarily for growth. Yes, it will give you growth if you're, pursuing it, but just sustaining it. So one of my things that I talk about frequently, probably on the podcast and then also within my coaching, is like, well, I'm not growing, but they're not willing to do some things. And I'm like, if you don't want to grow, I understand. Like if you're just taking a year where you're like, I just want to maintain, that's understandable. But you still have to show up for your audience so they know where to find you. And so that is the why behind marketing, is to sustain or to build, but to also to just keep showing up in a sea of content that is being thrown at us. If you still want to be relevant, you still want to be seen, we have to show up. Like you're going to have to show up in their email box, or you're going to have to show up on social media. So that is a lot of the why behind it. Okay, Lauren, speak to us. So we know the why, and let's say we've just discovered who we're going to serve, because that's the most important question. And, we've also figured out like what the problem is that we're solving. Now we're going to talk more about the how. So if we've chosen that we are going to post both on Facebook and Instagram, can you tell us a little bit about like the weed type stuff? Like, do we do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Like, do you have suggestions of how to like maintain it so that it's a well-oiled machine and it's less of that like, okay, I was really in the mood to create content this week, I had hair and makeup done. I had to do it for like a month. Can you tell us how to sustain it better?
If you feel called to make a lasting impact on lives of people all over the U.S., including those right here in your own community, then our friends at Kingdom Workers have an opportunity for you. Builders for Christ is an intersection of faith, community, and construction dedicated to bringing Christ's love, comfort, and support to those affected or displaced by hurricane, fires, and other natural disasters. Program volunteers give their time and skills to build and repair homes for local families and to religious structures like schools and churches that give entire communities resources at a time when they are desperately needed. If you're called to help make an immeasurable impact through fellowship, service, and faith, then you can support the Kingdom Workers directly through a donation, or learn more about becoming a Builders for Christ volunteer at kingdomworkers.com/our work. That's OUR work.
There are a couple things to that. One, I do want you to play around with when you're sending emails, when you're sending out social content, and vary it a little bit over a period of time, like a month or two, because the platforms will give you data on your open rates and when things are performing well and when your followers are engaging with social media. So first of all, figure that information out. So just play with it for a while. And then once you have a sense of, okay, all of my clients tend to scroll social media Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Central, you can schedule for, late afternoon that day or at that time. And so don't necessarily, we are big old believers in batching content as much as possible. I mean, take advantage of the good hair days. And if you can change your shirt or something and, do a whole bunch of videos that day as much as you can, take advantage of that energy or the kids at daycare or something, and do it. And then from there, batch it out. Now, also, if something is performing well, how many other ways can you use that? Can you turn it into a blog post? Can you turn it into an email? Can you cut it into 3 different social posts? We have a client who's writing their own blog content right now, and they send it over, and we're going to turn it into social content. And I looked at one of my team members and I said, oh my God, there's like 30 social posts just in this one blog post. I mean, we could take this and batch out content for a year from one blog post. And so I would really encourage anyone listening to, if you did one thing and you're just so proud of it, don't let it just live there. First of all, people probably not everybody saw it. It's just the fact. But also, like, how else can you use it? Can you turn it into something else? Can you turn it into a text message? Just think about all the different channels and where your folks are and really dine out on that for as long as possible. Reschedule it for a month from now or 2 months from now. Just, really, how many times can you use it is my recommendation. And then also, I really, I want to encourage you to use email as much as possible too. A lot of people, email is dead. Even if they just see your subject line, they remember you're there. They may never open it, 1000%. But then, and then also you control your email list. The algorithms change so much. The platforms change so much. All of a sudden you might not be showing in people's feeds. It's, I watch content creators on social just really struggle with not controlling their audience. So if someone's following you on social, get them to your email list so that you can communicate with them there also.
100%. Yep. Because we say that a lot too. It's like, I own my email address, but I don't own any of the social media platforms. And we had a situation where I was not banned. I got hacked on Facebook for 15 months. 15 months. Now we were still able to get on, like we could go live, but we had 0 permissions. Everything was grayed out. That was nerve-wracking. And I was like, I'm so grateful that I can still email them. I still had avenues to get a hold of them, but really think about that. How can you turn your social media followers to be on your email list and keep sending them emails to remind you who you are? Like you said, even if they delete it, but they saw the subject line, maybe I'm going to take advantage of it. The other thing that you mentioned that I thought is so true is batching. Now, I have a podcast episode from quite a few years back that's about why batching is so important. But like we kind of joked about, like if you have a hair and makeup day, if you just batch in, and usually it's like 1 to 2 hours for me. I do this every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. because everybody that listens to me knows how like residual, like I'm like, oh, this is what we do. Even with the kiddos home, and sometimes I can get them involved in stuff. But if I just know that like Tuesdays at 9, I'm recording, I show up differently because I know like, okay, here's the day I'm going to create content. And we have that content for Chris. Thankfully, I have somebody that helps me with marketing, but she can use that content for the entire month. Now I'm doing it every Tuesday. And sometimes it's interesting because it doesn't fit right in the season that we are, but it was a thought that I had about podcasting, and she'll be able to use it 6 months later. You just ask yourself like, okay, what day? And by the way, yours does not have to be Tuesday at 9 a.m. If yours is 9 p.m., because that's when you're more in the mood or whatever. But I also encourage you, but set the time. Don't wait for the mood to strike because it may not. So set the time, be intentional about this is when I'm going to batch content. And like you said, Lauren, you can use it 30 different times. If, you've got some leadership, like look ahead about what you want to promote, look at what your products are, or look at what your services are and be like, okay, I'm going to concentrate this hour on telling everybody about XYZ, and then figure out how many times you can repurpose that. After you record some videos, maybe it's a blog post, or it's the reverse. You spend the time writing the blog post and then you do some videos on it.
Absolutely. And also, as you were saying that, I wanted to point out that there are certain platforms that feed search engine optimization. So Google's the number one search engine in the world. YouTube is number two because Google owns YouTube. And then I heard the other day that Threads is starting to feed into search engines. So, if you're not quite sure, again, where to start, I would think about what's going to get people to your website.
Okay. And then I'm thinking if they're like, okay, fine, I've blocked in time, I know, but I'm staring at the camera or the microphone or whatever, and you're like, I have no idea what to do. Then you would go back to asking your question, what problem are you solving? Correct?
Yes, do that. I also, another book or modality that we think about sometimes is They Ask, You Answer. I believe it's Marcus Sheridan. And that's a way of thinking about like, what questions is your ideal customer asking? Are they asking like, what's the difference between PR and marketing? Well, I can write a blog post about that. I can create a video about that. I can do social and email content about that. So I personally have spent time just thinking about questions I've received before in consultations or things that think people might be too scared to ask me, and go ahead and answer those questions too. So what problem am I solving and how can I show up as a resource for them and build empathy and authority and just a relationship with them so that when they're ready, I'm the one they think of.
I think that's so important, is like aligning up all your marketing so that you are the person they think of, even if they don't buy for another 6 months, but you are the person they think of when they're like, okay, I am ready to finally solve this or dig in a little bit deeper. You've been showing up in their email. You've been hopefully showing up in their feeds, whatever that is. But if they think of you, whether it's 6 days from now or 6 months from now, it's because you have been consistent, which brings me to my next point is like, how important is it that we are consistent in our marketing?
It is important. I would say, think about what the real you, can truly commit to, and then commit to it. So if that's one blog post a month, that can be 4 social posts and 1 email or whatever it is, again, be thoughtful about your time and what you can chop up and create. But at least save, if it's the first Monday of the month and you're just batching everything you can for that month, do that because it is, I really feel like it's worse to rush out of the gate. You're blogging daily, you're posting 4 times a day, and then all of a sudden you go quiet.
Yeah.
And then a quarter later, you're doing it again, because what happens is someone goes to your site, they see something you've done and they go to your site and they're like, it's been a couple months since they've done something. Are they still around? And so I would rather you have something with a nice cadence that you can live with that's weekly. So you're putting something out weekly, whether it's your social or your blog or all the above. But trying to show up at least once a week would be my recommendation versus trying to do it daily or multiple times a week.
Yeah, because that would definitely equal burnout, is if it's like, and we all feel really energized at first, like when we have the idea and we're excited, but like consistency is key. So try to like zoom out and be like, okay, but what is sustainable over the next, year? How could I do that? But I have noticed, people ask me frequently, like, how in the world do you grow it or sustain my 3 brands? And I'm like, it really is consistency. And even like I go live every Thursday at noon and I go live every Friday at noon. That is like, because the consistency equals trust with my customers. They trust, okay, I know Becca will be on Thursday. If I missed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for whatever reason, not that people are thinking about me that much, you guys, but they do trust that, I can catch her on Thursday live, or I can catch it that night when I'm viewing myself. And I know she'll be live on Friday. And that consistency builds trust, which builds you as the authority in their brain for whatever it is. For me, it's purses or coaching or encouragement or whatever it is. But they trust that I will show up. And so that consistency equals trust, which equals sales or relationship, whatever it is you're going for.
Yep. So that's your reputation. And you have also built in an accountability system for yourself.
True. So true. It's so true.
So if you respond to external accountability like I do and like you do, then you might think about, okay, sort of how can you build some support, whether it's a group or, you're with a group of other women and you're all encouraging each other, and they are expecting you to post something so that you can all support each other, or if, how wonderful if you can encourage yourself to do it. I need external accountability, but think about what's going to work for you to make sure that you're showing up like on a consistent basis. Because I will myself as a consumer will choose not to work with certain brands because if I feel like things are inconsistent or there's no recency there, because I have concerns about, like, are you going to be there for me when I need you as a customer?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so true. And I think, like, again, guys, if you're getting overwhelmed, we have not said the word daily.
No.
Not said daily. We said weekly. She even said monthly. I would avoid the quarterly thing. Yes. But weekly and monthly is an okay way to approach us. And the first one does not require video. We said email list, and then figure out which social media platform is best. And it's really nice because there's buttons that you can use for all of them. It'll just post all of them, making one of them. Lauren, also, one of my questions for you is, how can we find joy while doing it? Because I talk a lot about doing home and work life and with joy, and I do believe it's possible. Marketing and joy, not always in the same sentence, but I think you can turn it around and tell us how we could pursue joy in it.
I think, first of all, joy is personal, but I personally derive incredible joy in relationships, in creating relationships and sustaining those, and really being a resource for someone. One of my favorite things in the world is getting off of a new client call where I have got the medicine for what is ailing them, and that just lifts me to the moon. And your marketing can be that way too. When you think about your content, when you think about, what it's a product or service or whatever, if you believe in yourself and you believe in what you're doing, know that there's someone out there who's really benefiting from you, and they need that content to understand it and how you are going to make their life so much better when engaging with you. And I think if you can keep that in mind, I think you can really bring a lot of joy into your marketing.
Yeah. Another practical tip I recommend you guys is print off, whether you've had reviews, or sent you a card, or they posted something online that was like, this was really fun to watch, or man, I love this purse. Print those things off, because they act as rocket fuel when you're like, I don't know what else to say. And I think it's similar to what you said, is picture your customer and all the joy that they have, and that you were a part of that. That alone is such a warm fuzzy. We call it in my staff, we call it rocket fuel when we get these reviews or anything that's outside of the norm of hey, I'm just really happy you guys are still at it. And I've loved creating today. I didn't think I was a creator, but I got to create something beautiful today. That is what fuels you. So in a practical way, just stick those pieces around you when you're creating your marketing to remind you hey, what you have to offer is very valuable.
Yes. Excellent. Very practical advice. I fully believe in a love letters folder, digital or whatever. I take screenshots of podcast reviews or Google reviews, which you also should do in case they get taken down. Because sometimes Google can get a little funny, oh, that's too many 5-star reviews. Let me start taking those down. So make sure you screenshot them so that if you notice that, you can go back and have them restore it. But yes, just for also your keeping you afloat when things get a little murky, or you lose the thread and you're not quite sure why you're here anymore. we all get like that. So
okay, I gotta know here. What do you mean? Who takes down the 5-star reviews? Who would do that?
Google will remove some 5-star reviews.
What? Why?
Yeah, I think sometimes if they think it's spam, or it's you're a bot farm or something like that. I've had people tell me that reviews have been removed, and I've seen it on client side too. So now we screenshot everything. So if we notice something gets taken down, we can go to them and say, please restore this.
Okay, that's a huge nugget right there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this has been extremely insightful, and I would just like to recap nice and neat, you guys. Start weekly, monthly. We do not recommend quarterly. It does not have to be daily. Batch your work together. Have some little rocket fuel about why you're doing what you do. I would also remind you that the God of the universe saw you fit to do this. So even as unique as it is, he wants you to serve his amazing people with your unique service or your unique product. So that is your rocket fuel to have the joy to keep on serving. Lauren, how do we find out more about what you are doing in the marketing field? If we want to reach out, we're like, help me, please.
I'd be happy to help. So you can find our PR and marketing services. We're everywhere at Kwedar Co. So that's KWEDARCO.com. And that's also all of our social handles.
Okay.
If you are an impatient entrepreneur, I encourage you to follow our podcast, which is the Impatient Entrepreneur Pod everywhere. Rebecca is a future guest.
I love the title, that Impatient Entrepreneur. I'm like, duh, all entrepreneurs are extremely impatient.
Yes. And you will find us everywhere there.
Okay. I'd also like to emphasize, she did mention she's a StoryBrand certified coach, and I have worked with StoryBrand certified coaches, not Lauren yet, but they are amazing for getting a base for how to run your marketing. And so I do highly recommend that because it's insight into your customer on like 7 layers deep. And it really set us for marketing. We probably started it 5 years ago, but it was a fantastic start to batching our content and really keeping the companies. Well, we actually grew them and we've also sustained them. So I definitely recommend go through Lauren. You've already heard her voice. You've already heard where she thrives. I would definitely start with StoryBrand certified coach, and Lauren is the one to start with. And as we close here, Lauren, how can you encourage our encouragers?
One of my favorite pieces of advice that I have really embraced in the last few years is to encourage you to tell yourself you get to decide how to run your business. You get to decide how to run your marketing. You get to decide what works for you in your life. Don't worry about what I say is the right way to do it, or, you are the one who has to live it every day. And so don't ignore all the experts, listen to us, but also ignore us, because at the end of the day, you're the one doing the work, and you have to decide what works for you, your business, your family, your life. And once you've given yourself permission to do what's right for you, things just get a whole lot easier.
It's true. It's true. You can be flip-floppy very quickly, but if you go back down to yourself, what it is that you want, you started it. How do you want to pursue it going forward? It'll feel more authentic and sustainable.
Yes,
for sure. Thank you so much, Lauren, for your expert advice today. Until next time, encouragers, we got this because he's got us.
Thanks so much for tuning in. If the Encourager podcast has helped or encouraged you in any way, please subscribe to the show and leave a 5-star review. And then help us spread the message of encouragement and hope by sharing the podcast with others. Ready to bring more organization and joy into your life? The Encourager Academy helps you harmonize your home and work life through our online course and coaching programs. Our 5-system approach, me, food, family, work, and home, tackles your biggest obstacles, offering lifetime access to video lessons and guided worksheets. Learn at your own pace with practical tools and strategies. Enroll now at encourageracademy.com and use code WeGotThis for $50 off. Are you ready for clarity and purposeful progress without the overwhelm? Join the Clarity Blueprint membership community. Transform your life with like-minded women taking small, meaningful steps twice a month. Access monthly calls, worksheets, videos, guest speakers, and a supportive community with a very affordable price. Say goodbye to chaos and hello to purposeful progress. Visit theencouragerpodcast.com and join today.
Everyone wants to change the world. Capital Ministries is doing just that, one heart at a time, by creating disciples of Jesus Christ among political leaders in the U.S. and foreign nations. For more than 25 years, founder Ralph Drollinger has written Bible studies specifically for public servants. Study along with us and learn what the Bible says about capitalism, communism, abortion, same-sex marriage, and other contemporary issues. Subscribe and follow us at lifeaudio.com or search Capital Ministries on your favorite podcast platform.